So recently, OpenAI has released a new GPT-4o model that can generate image based on your input prompt and input image as well. It can generate new images, or it can also edit image based on your description. So I tried to play with that a bit. My first test was to try to ask ChatGPT to redesign my working space to be more zen. So I uploaded a photo of my working space and asked it to redesign the working space to be more zen. And then it generated some ideas and some description of how the space can be better and to be more zen. And then go ahead and asked me to whether I would want to generate a mock-up of the new space, and then I said yes, and then it went ahead and generate the new space. Of course there's still some issue with the new image where like the chair doesn't have like the head, the back, and then also there is no electric socket and wire, so I can connect to the power supply. But overall, it's quite impressive, and it can be already be useful to give us some ideas, and then we can iterate on the design. Like I said, I can just ask it to add the wires or and electric sockets, so it can be more realistic. Another test that I tried with OmniGen is to ask ChatGPT to restyle my hair so I can look younger and sharp. Overall, I would say I did not a bad job. That actually, it generated quite a nice hairstyle, even though the face doesn't look very much like mine. But it has some features. Additionally, also make my shirt whiter and cleaner, so it's helpful. So overall, it could help to follow the guidance and then generate some interesting and I think useful generation. So I went ahead and do some research to find out if anyone got any idea how OpenAI did this, because this is different from other image generation model, where I can, like, those model can usually only do one task, like for example, I can put an image to an art style, some certain art style, or to remove some object, or like some segmenting object, etc. But then for ChatGPT, OmniGen, it seems to be able to do a lot of different things, different tasks, and it seems to be can generalize and can do things that might not have been in the training data. So it's very interesting. I think this is a really big moment. It's like exactly like the moment of ChatGPT when it was released. It can do a lot of NLP, like traditional NLP tasks, within one model. So this is the moment of ChatGPT for computer vision, I believe. So I did some research, and somebody suggested a paper that seemed to be suggested a model architecture that does exactly this, right? And the paper is called OmniGen Unified Image Generation by a team from Beijing Academy of Artificial Intelligence. So I read the paper. It seemed to be very interesting. I think so. Now let me go through the paper and some core ideas in the paper, so that we can have some ideas of how maybe like OpenAI have learned something from this, or they might do it completely different. But OmniGen suggested that the model can do generalized tasks like ChatGPT-4 ImageGen can do. So in this paper, the team suggests a unified model that can handling different tasks in a single model, right? So the claim is a new diffusion model for unified image generation. Okay, and it has three distinct characteristics, including unification, which is one model that can do multiple things. Simplicity, the architecture of OmniGen is simple, very simplified, so it can scale, it can be trained with a large amount of data. Knowledge transfer, so the authors claim that using a unified architecture, then OmniGen can learn to learn the knowledge across different tasks, and it can even generalize to unseen tasks. So these are the characteristics that actually we're looking for in a model such as ImageGen in GPT-4o. Currently, we know that for each task, like designing a specific module and fine-tuning it is necessary. So we didn't have a generalized model. We just have like a specific model for each different task, like image generation, some style diffusion model, or like style conversion, or segmentation. We for each like computer vision task, we have a different model, different architecture for that. So it wasn't a generalized model, and the way that those tasks are predefined, so we couldn't really instruct the model, and it cannot follow the instruction, like our instruction to generate the output we want. So the author asking themselves whether we can use a single model to do different tasks end to end through the instruction, instead of using one each single model for each different things, right? So they suggested an architecture called OmniGen. So this new architecture comprising only two main components, which is a variational autoencoder and a transformer model. The input can be interleaved text and image input, conditioned to generate the image. They also constructed a large-scale multitask image generation dataset, X2I. So this is a really large dataset, and has like a sample from a different image generation task. Right, and then after training the model, they claim that OmniGen can enable effective knowledge transfer across different scenarios, allowing it to handle unseen tasks and domain while also fostering the emergence of new abilities. So not only it can generalize between different tasks, it also has some emergence of new capabilities, right? So here they described the model architecture. It contains a variational encoder and then a pre-trained large transformer, and they use an existing variational autoencoder from Stable Diffusion XL to extract like continuous visual feature from images. For the transformer, they pick the model from Phi 3. During training, the VAE is frozen, so the weight from VAE model is not updated while training. For the input representation for the text, they use a tokenizer of file tree to process the text. For images, they employed the VAE from Stable Diffusion XL, and then use a simple linear layer to extract latent representation. And then they flatten them into a sequence of visual tokens by linearly projecting each patch in the latent space. Okay. They also have a positional embedding using a frequency-based positional embedding similar to Stable Diffusion tree. For each image, they encapsulate them into special tokens like the image and open image tag and closed image tag before inserting to the text token. Okay, they also added a time step embedding at the end of the input sequence. Okay, so yeah, here we can look at this figure. So basically, the text here is tokenized using the text tokenizer from file tree to become discrete tokens. For the input image, they split into small patches and use the variational encoder from Stable Diffusion XL to extract the latent features of the images of the patches, right, and then concatenate them together here, and then they added a time step token, and then they added the noise. I think this one is could be Gaussian noise initiated patches. So the idea is that all of this will be concatenated as an input to a pre-trained transformer, and then this transformer will go through multiple diffusion steps, basically denoising each output iteratively, and then we got a denoise, a final denoise latent embedding of each of the patch, and then they use the decoder of the same variational autoencoder to decode it into the output image. Interestingly, they also have the attention mechanism for the text. They use the traditional causal attention, so each token only pays attention to previous tokens. Meanwhile, for image patches, they use bidirectional attention, so each patch will pay attention to all other patches. So that is attention mechanism. For inference, they would like randomly sample a Gaussian noise, like I said, and then apply flow matching to predict the target velocity, like how many steps that we should do denoising, and then iterating through those multiple steps to obtain the final latent representation. Okay. And then the use of the decoder to decode the latent representation into the predicted image. So that is how OmniGen architecture is designed and trained, and also inference. A bit about the training strategy. They use rectified flow. I haven't read into this yet, but we'll take some time to have a look. To optimize for model parameters, the model is trained to basically regress the target velocity given the noise st and time set t condition to information c. So this is the formula of the loss for image edit task. The objective is to modify the superspec region of the input image while keeping other areas unchanged. However, because most of the areas of the input image are the same, only one or two patches are different, so the loss tend to be quite low. So in order to mitigate this phenomenon, then they would amplify the loss in the region of the image where the changes occur. So basically to make the model to pay attention to the loss where we want the change to be. Okay. The training pilot is quite interesting. First, they train with some low resolution image, right? So it can be more data efficient. They can train quicker and faster, and then later in the later stage, then they will introduce more high resolution image, so it can enhance the aesthetic quality of the generated images. So that is the training pipeline. Okay. For the X2I dataset, so to generate a dataset comprised of about 100 million images that come from different tasks, including text to image. For text to image, they would have a subtask like using different types of prompt and input. It can be multimodal to image using common mixed model prompts. It can be subject-driven image generation. You can ask like the model to modify only a specific object in the image, input image. It also has like computer vision tasks like in painting, deep blurring, colorization, etc. Right. A few short image is also contain a few short image, so they can train the model to do in context learning. Basically, feature learning is you give a few examples in the prompts, in the input, and then ask it to generate the output based on the example you give in the input. So that is a few short image. Okay, so experimental result. They show some benchmark against different stable diffusion model, Dowley, etc. And they train a 2.8 billion parameter model. And we can see that I haven't read like carefully about this result yet, but from the table they say that overall OmniGen does better than all of these compared models, right? Including tasks from single object, where they can modify a single object, or coloring the image, attribute binding. So on average, it does better than other compared models. So it's quite impressive, even though that they train a relatively small model compared to these two models. Okay, so that is for Gen Eval benchmark. Similarly, for multi to AMU editor, this is image editing benchmark, and we can see that OmniGen does not bad compared to other models. While for DreamBench benchmark, then OmniGen did better for this values. Okay. All right. Similarly, for controllable image generation indicate. So this is where we want to generate image based on some of the control we have. For example, like the pose of the person. Then OmniGen does pretty well in these two tasks compared to other models. So it's very impressive that one architecture can relatively well and even better than some of the specialized models. Okay, so in the analysis, so they make some conclusion and observation that even that in some of for some of the objects that the model haven't ever seen in the training data, then OmniGen can still detect them and edit them. For example, pencil sharpener is something that OmniGen didn't see, but it could also generalize. So that's impressive. And then they also tested to see whether OmniGen can reason. By reason, they basically ask the model to, not directly but indirectly. For example, they can ask like, given an image of this kitchen, and then the author asks like where they can wash their hands, then the model can highlight the sink here. So the author didn't ask like the OmniGen to highlight the sink. They just asked like where I can wash my hands. Then OmniGen can infer that they can wash the hands in a sink and highlight the sink instead. So it shows some of the multi-step reasoning of OmniGen, and I think it's quite impressive, and I think it's very interesting. So that is reasoning. Chain of thought. So the author also experimented to see whether the model can generate an image in multiple steps, similar to how we generate the text output, where the model can generate like reasoning, like step-by-step reasoning, and then using those to make conclusion at the end. So here the author also tested to see whether OmniGen can generate images in steps. So yeah, they fine-tuned the model to simulate different stage of artwork creation. So basically, they simulated different step of a painter paint an image. Like first they will they draw a sketch, and then they refine the sketch, and then they colors the sketch. As you can see an example here. So the author created a data set of this multi-step generation, and then they fine-tune the model. And then for in the inference, they see that the model can generate the image in step by given the prompt and then the output in the previous step. Then the OmniGen can generate the image in the next step, and then we do that multiple times and we get the final image. Doing this will give us the control of how we want the output to be. For example, if we don't want like the output to be in certain step, we can just change it and then run the model to generate the output in the next step. And so it could give us more control, and we can add it on each of the phase of the generation and can drive the output to be the way we want. So it's super cool. I think it's it can be very useful. So yeah, so that is OmniGen. I think this work has a lot of potential for the open source communities or other companies to replicate for OmniGen, and I think the community already know about this. I'm sure that there will be a lot of OmniGen model coming in the near future, and I think the future is bright for image generation. We can use it a lot in a lot of different cases, and for example, interior design, hairstyle or fashion design, or creating manga, etc. So these are super cool. But one thing more is that I don't think it's gonna stop at image generation, but it will be everywhere. It will be in audio generation, music generation. It will be in movie generation. All we need to do is just to tell the model what to do, and the model will be able to generate or edit like existing audio, movie, or image in this manner. So I think a lot of work will be automated by this kind of generalized model. So that's it. Thanks a lot for listening, and I hope that it is useful for your AI journey.